Hello. So, I wanted to start off here by talking about probably the most common question that I run into in my private practice when it comes to preparing to get married. And that question is, how do you know you're ready to get married? Now, I can set up the scene for you, the most common scene, which is mid January, around that time. Everyone's friends, just got engaged, right? Or on social media, you saw everyone got engaged and everyone's planning their weddings. And maybe your partner is wanting to get married or get engaged, and you're in this place where you're like, oh, I love this person. I care deeply about them. I just don't know if I'm ready to get married, right? And it's a very normal thing to feel, right? I just want to start off with that. You shouldn't feel like you're wrong or there's something fundamentally wrong about you or your relationship just because you feel that way, right? So let's start with that. I think one of the most fundamentally difficult things about being in this position is that we live in a world right now where there's easily quantifiable data for like everything, right? There's like an algorithm for everything, right? And when it comes to something like marriage, which is like, it's much harder to quantify when you're ready to get married, right? The closest thing we have to like a commonly accepted wisdom about this is this catchphrase, when you know, right? And I put that in air quotes not to denigrate it, right? For people that feel that way, which a lot of people do feel that way, that's awesome, right? That's wonderful that you feel like this just great sense of conviction, right? And it just kind of happened for you. And you're probably not watching this video because you felt that way, right? My wife felt that way, I know, and it's not that I didn't feel a great sense of certainty once we got married, but I did have questions approaching it, right, that I needed to have answered. That's why we went to premarital counseling, and that worked out great for us. But when you know is what people will say, right? As if it's like, there you go, right? You can figure it out now, right? That's understandably kind of mystifying, right? What am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to know it? What are we talking about, right? And I think what really is the case for those people is that they had enough really positive experiences with their partner, and they share enough values with their partner where they feel like, I am super confident that we're going to be in a great relationship, right? And that's awesome if they feel that way. That's that whole mouthful that I just said is less catchphrasy, right? So when you know is what we got. So that's great for the people that feel that way, and it's also normal if that doesn't do much for you, right? I have this kind of pet theory, and working with people over the years, if you have a tattoo or if you are religious, it's a lot easier to make this decision, right? Because you've already committed to something for the rest of your life. It's a really abstract commitment, right? We don't usually commit to things for the rest of our life. When we buy a house, right? We have a mortgage for like 15 or 30 years. It's not like the rest of our life. It might feel that way sometimes. But when you do something like get a tattoo, right? Now, I don't actually have a tattoo here, but a lot of people do, right? So when you get a tattoo, you're saying, I know, or I feel very confident that myself 20 years from now is still going to be happy that I have this tattoo. And that's a great skill to have developed, right? When you're religious, when you believe in something bigger than yourself, you have committed to something for the rest of your life, for eternal life, that is, you're comfortable with that idea, right? That's something that you've already done. When you don't have those things in your life, you haven't made a commitment that is that significant, right? You haven't dived into something like that. So it's very normal to feel some anxiety and some doubt or concern as you approach the idea of committing to one partner for the rest of your life, right? So that's what I find to be very normal. Now, it's good that it's normal because we have ways that we can try to address it. And I guess what I would encourage you to think about, if you're really wondering, how do I know that that I'm ready to get married or that this relationship is something that I want to commit to? This is the first question I would ask you is, what's the biggest decision you've made so far in your life, right? Maybe it was where to go to college, or what career, right, to choose, or what city to move to, right? There's a lot of big decisions people make early in their life before getting married, and you had to feel a relative degree of certainty to make that choice. You weren't sure, you didn't know it was going to work out, but you had some kind of feeling or some kind of experience or some kind of something that got you to a place where you felt, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to go for this, right? And it might be interesting to think about that process, what you did, how you approached that allowed you to feel a good sense of confidence that this is going to be a good thing, right? That I'm gonna make this the right decision, right? So that's one thing I would encourage you to start with. It's like what's something that you felt some trepidation about, but you pushed through and you found a way to make the decision. Because I think that's a big thing for people. It's like the decision, it feels like a massive decision. It is, right? It's a big decision, right? So there's that. I think for another set of people, right, and then maybe also for you as well, there's this feeling of, is our relationship going to last, right? Is this going to be a good relationship? I mean, I don't want to commit to something that's not going to be a good relationship or that's going to end in divorce, right? That's a totally valid, and I would say a healthy concern, right? A lot of marriages do end in divorce, and that's not something we talk about, on the wedding day, but no one anticipates that their marriage is going to end in divorce. You want to know with a relative degree of certainty that your marriage is not going to end in divorce, right? And so what I would ask you to think about, here's the first thing I would say. Do you want to be in this relationship a year from now? 5 years from now, do you still want to be with this person? Is this the person you want to be with? And I think for a lot of people, they find like, yes, tomorrow I want to be with them. A year from now I want to be with them. There is not a reason why I don't want to be with them. I'm just concerned about being with them for a lifetime, right? For that kind of abstract thing. And if that's the case, right, I think that I would just encourage you to look at like, all right, if you want to be with them for the foreseeable future, that's pretty much the best we can do, right? Is to say that, hey, I know I want to be with this person for the foreseeable future. I know that I want to, pursue this, keep working on it, keep figuring out what could get better. And I think that's the third part of this too that I think is important for us to think about. Is like, what is there something specific about the relationship that's concerning to you, right? And a lot of times people feel like they want their relationship to be this like perfectly packaged thing that they like, then the wedding is like presenting this like beautiful perfect thing, right? And I would encourage you to listen to recognize that doesn't have to happen, right? A good marriage, a marriage that is healthy, that lasts, is one that evolves. So no matter how great your relationship feels on your wedding day, it's going to feel different in 10 years, and 20 years, and 30 years. So it doesn't need to be this perfect thing, right? It can be this thing that is still you're working on, right? The thing that I would encourage you about, maybe we can think about this as like red flags, the things to really be worried about, right? If you have a significant difference in values from your partner, right? So if it's like, man, I really want to have children, have a family, start that in the next like 3 years. They don't know if they want kids. They really want to focus on their career, and they kind of want to wait 5 years to even talk about kids. That would be a thing that would be really good to consider and think very deeply about, or have good conversations about with your partner before getting married. But if it's something more like, we struggle to deal with conflict, right? Or we have a hard time when we disagree about something, right? We can't always agree on big decisions. Those are things that you grow into and you develop as you kind of continue. But at a certain point, right? As you're kind of asking yourselves these questions, you're processing through all of this. Marriage is a risk. We don't talk about it as being risky. We talk, for some reason, marriage, the branding people at Marriage, Inc. have found a way to brand it as this really safe thing, right? It is a risk. You are saying, I believe I'm going to want to be with this person 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now. And that's a risky thing to do. So you do have to be comfortable at a certain point with some degree of risk. And the questions I'm asking you today, the things I'm asking you to think about, would help you feel more comfortable with that level of risk. You might have felt there was some risk with the college choice you made, or the big move you made, or purchasing a home, or any of these kind of life choices that you've made. But you kind of weighed that risk out with the benefits. Similarly, I would encourage you to do that when you look at approaching marriage. And if you do have some of those concerns about your relationship, or things that, like I was saying, that aren't red flags, but that are, things you'd like to get better at, the Launch to Land Premarital Readiness course would be a great fit, right? The course I have on my website at launchtoland.com, it walks you through some of these really big conversations, and it gives you an opportunity to have all of these conversations in a healthy, safe environment with your partner, so that to a degree of certainty that you're ready to get married. And the whole focus of Launch to Land is not to get you to doubt or feel bad about your relationship. The focus is to build up your strengths, to think about the things you're great at as a couple, the things that make you a great couple, and to make that the focus of your relationship moving forward. So feel free to check it out at launchtoland.com, and also like and subscribe here for more videos and more content about getting ready for marriage. And we're going to keep working on producing content like this that's going to help you take off in the marriage you want.